Look up at the camera when you're like a little.
Bro. Yo, well, with the What's up, y'all? It's your boy Eweezy, back again with another video. This time, I'm gonna teach y'all a little bit about footwear. We've been doing a lot of coffee stuff, you know what I'm saying? We told some stories about whatever it might be, but now we're actually gonna talk about shoes. And this is how I got started into the whole industry of coffee and stuff like that anyway, because I really just wanted a place where I could go and kick it with my coffee homies, or go kick it with my sneaker homies, go kick it with the homies, where anybody could chill. But today, I'm gonna teach you some stuff about shoes. On a sneaker, you have a few different parts when you're building footwear. This is basic across all companies, across all models, across whatever. And there are standards that you use just just in case somebody is working on a project and they decide to move on, or just whatever, so that it's basic or generalized across from the companies that are working on the product to the factories to anywhere else, any language barriers, any of that kind of stuff, all is taken care of by a few basic elements when it comes to shoes. First, there is the forefoot, which is broken off about here, the midfoot, and the heel. When you go to talk about the parts of the shoes, it will always be talked about when you're building your, what is called the bill of materials, or a BOM. It's a list of everything in the shoe. It'll be broken out by forefoot, midfoot, and heel. You also have the upper, the midsole, and the outsole. Some basic ways to be able to tell the difference is the upper is usually leather, mesh, any of that kind of stuff. The midsole is usually some type of foam, and the outsole is usually where the rubber is. On something like a running shoe, or maybe like a training shoe, like a free, you might see the parts of the midsole that are touching the ground, or the foam, and then there are little rubber pieces that are touching the ground, and that's actually the outsole. Just because it's touching the ground doesn't mean it's actually the outsole. So here we have two shoes that look pretty similar in terms of colorway. It looks like you have your upper, your midsole, and your outsole, but in this shoe you actually don't have a midsole. Even though it appears that there is a midsole with a cup sole, they just put what is called a part line all the way through it, and that makes it appear to sit lower or to have a midsole, but really it's just more rubber. So this is actually just part of the outsole, whereas on this Hyperdunk, it's midsole foam and then outsole rubber. So now that you essentially understand the way that shoes are broken out, or the way that they are described, we'll get into some actual parts and actually what's in a shoe and why they're in the shoe, and just cut a shoe apart. Let's try to get it good on this camera. Is this good? So what we're gonna be doing is actually just cutting the shoe apart. And instead of just cutting it as is and cutting off individual pieces and stuff like that, just getting rid of them, this exercise is really good for helping someone understand, or helping you understand when you go into a job interview, or if you're just a person who likes shoes, whether you're going in for the interview at Foot Locker, corporate, or Foot Locker, the store. This helps you understand the way that footwear is built, and it gives you a better appreciation for how it's made. But also, if you want to be a shoe designer, or maybe in marketing, or in development, or whatever you want to be in, this project, or this exercise will give you a chance to help you understand and materialize, and actually just like a physical, like a tactile thing. So when you go into working in the industry or whatever, really, we don't want you to sound like a dummy. We want you out there sounding real smart and having a full understanding of what are in shoes and why. We're gonna be cutting apart an Air Max 90 because we can. There's no real rhyme or reason, but this is a simple shoe. I suggest if you want to do this exercise, you just get a pair of shoes that are old, something that you might want to throw out. We did a new shoe really so that you could see, it's easier, more clean for all this, but you really don't have to do this with a new pair of shoes. I don't suggest it. But yeah, let's get it together. Let's get it done. So I'm just gonna begin to do the easier parts of taking the shoe apart. So something as simple as this little hang tag. Each part that's in the shoe is listed in that bill of materials that I talked about. Every shoe has a bill of materials or a BOM, and the BOM lists everything from what we call from tip to heel, and anything that's in it from the toe stuffing to the sock liner. And you know, the sock liner is technically 3 parts. There is the top cloth, there is your screen print that goes on top, or your graphic, however that's applied, and your and the actual sock liner itself. This is not called an insole. An insole is the thing that you put in afterward if you got like jacked up feet, or maybe you need some Dr. Scholl's, or maybe your sock liners got stomped out or whatever and you need a new one. This is called a sock liner. It's not an insole. At me, bro. When you're doing this exercise, it might not be a bad idea to take one apart and leave the other one together. This is also possibly an opportunity if you're a person who likes to customize shoes, to take apart a shoe that maybe you like in your size, and then you now have the pattern for that shoe. And then you could build your own shoe, possibly, you know what I'm saying? Learn to stitch, maybe you already know how to sew, whatever it might be. One of the things that I'll show you as we start to take this shoe apart is I want you to understand, I want you to see that the extra material that is inside of a stitch or something like that is there for a reason. Oftentimes it's so that you can stitch and turn something, like a collar. You'll see when we cut the collar, there's going to be some parts in here that are stuffed inside, but you have to stitch it inside out and then you turn it, right? So you'll see, the thing I want you to understand is that all these parts are in here for a reason. All these extra pieces, all these overlays and underlays are all in here for a reason. I didn't even talk about what overlays and underlays were. So an overlay is anything that goes over a part. So this is an overlay of this piece. So this swoosh is an overlay of the midfoot quarter. This mud guard is an overlay of this swoosh, but this TPU piece under here, or plastic piece, is an underlay. So anytime you talk about a part, there's always an overlay or an underlay. So the things that you'll need for this exercise are actually pretty simple. You need a shoe, some masking tape for labeling parts, or maybe sticking something together that you might lose, like some smaller pieces. An X-Acto blade. You actually want a really sharp one, and sharp is your friend. And one of the things somebody told me a long time ago, who was a Boy Scout, he said you cut towards your chums, not your thumbs. So you always want to cut toward your friends, cut away from your body, not toward yourself. A Sharpie for labeling pieces, and a Ziploc bag. Pretty much everything will fit inside whatever this bag is, aside from maybe the tooling, the midsole and outsole. But other than that, it's really simple. And then you need some time and maybe a Band-Aid or two. One of the easier things to take apart is usually the tongue. The tongue is actually only attached just by these stitches right here. I'm gonna wait, actually. I'm gonna cut the upper off first. When doing this exercise, it's actually easier when you're cutting the upper off to stand up. You use something firm like the table, and you just want to cut into the shoe and push down. You know that the table is not going to move, or it shouldn't move. And quite honestly, before we started this video, the table is kind of wobbly, and I was very adamant about the table not moving. So you know the table's not going to move, and you can control the direction that the shoe goes by simply pushing down on it. And then you just use your body weight and a good sharp knife, like I was saying, to push through and cut the shoe. Matt, you in there, bro? Can you see it?
Oh, I'm there.
Hey. This part right here between the tooling and the upper, where the shoe meets, where the midsole meets the upper, or the outsole meets the upper, it's called the bite line. And that's really where the upper, or the midsole bites or holds on to the upper. So I'm trying to follow the bite line all the way around. It gets kind of difficult when you get back here in the heel, but definitely doable. Shout out to this knife. This knife is really sharp, actually. So it's making this job way easier. I could get this off of here, but if you really wanted to, there are different solutions that you can use to take an upper off. You can ask any person who's been customizing sneakers for a while how to get this kind of stuff off. One solution is called MEK. I forget, it was methyl ethyl kerosene or whatever. They make what is called MEK substitute. It's a less powerful MEK because MEK is actually really nasty stuff. You can't even wear gloves because it'll eat through your gloves, but it works really, really well to get uppers off. The other thing that you can do is pour in boiling water. And if you pour in the boiling water into into the shoe, take the sock liner out, pour the water in, it'll loosen up that glue, and you can like pry the upper off. You can do that if you want or not. For this exercise, you know, for safety and speed's sake, I would suggest not, but hey, you know, if you want to go the extra mile, do your thing. Oh, hey, we out here. So just after that initial part, you'll see there are a bunch of layers in here. And as we start to take the shoe apart, you'll see that a lot of the things that are internal in the shoe, like the collar lining and stuff like that, they actually go all the way to the bite line. They go all the way down to the shoe. Why? For comfort, to be able to catch those little parts somewhere, like down at the bite line or whatever. But, you know, it's important to look at this kind of stuff. This piece right here is called the strobel. This is the part that when you make a shoe, your pattern is flat, but then as you stitch it together and make it into a 3D shape, you need it to hold on to something, you need it to catch something. So you use what is called a strobel sock or a strobel, and in this case the strobel is like a comfort one, so it's made out of like a felt or something like that. You use a strobel and you do what is called the strobel stitch. That's this white stitch all the way around it to gather all of those parts. So then you have your upper and your tooling, and then you glue all of that together. So you make almost like a booty construction, and you put that together. All these things are listed as different parts because all of them cost money, and all of them have to be sourced somewhere, or they have to be made somewhere. So when people think of things like, you know, like, well, how come shoes cost so much or whatever? All of these pieces have to be made by a place and like shipped in, and sometimes the factories make it themselves, sometimes they don't, but you just have to take all those pieces into account. Sometimes they do these double row stitches with by hand. Like they'll go brrr, and then go brrr, and stitch it twice, but they actually just follow the original line. And you can see here, there's actually on the sides is actually triple because they want to make sure that they catch the end of the stitch so it doesn't unravel. So they'll go brrr, yeah. This is actually done by hand, so it'll go brrr, 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 like that really quick, yeah, and double back. Or they'll go. It's pretty crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah. This is called a CO label, or country of origin label. This one I have to actually cut out because they heat press them in now because it's faster and probably cheaper. But they used to stitch them in. But this is the only way I can take it off because it is literally melted to the tongue. The stitches and everything, actually, they also count as a part. If you wanted to identify them as a separate one or whatever, you could, but usually it just says like generic thread. Whatever thread is best for the application. There are best practices for that kind of stuff. So these stitches count as like a piece of it. And then when you have a piece like the tongue, this is what is called a material package. So there's a top layer mesh, there's a substrate or a back layer mesh, and then there's actually foam inside here too. So this is listed in your bill of materials as one part, but this is because it's built as a package, but you can technically say this is 3 pieces. And the same thing with what is usually the lining piece that will be inside the tongue. Right here, this is that same lining. It is also built, same thing. This is technically the top, even though it's on the back side of the shoe. The foam in the middle, and then the substrate. Tongue is done. in your bill of materials, you would list out each part of this heel overlay as well. This would be listed as one part, but you would say heel overlay, outside, blue, heel overlay inside, or maybe heel overlay logo would be black. So you would list it in your BOM exactly, what colors you would want. And then you would also list what type of material you want to use. Maybe this is a rubber, maybe you want to use plastic, maybe you want to use leather. Maybe you want to switch it up and do some sort of like heat embossed one that just sits on the back instead of the poured or the rubber piece. You would list all those things out in your BOM. Don't do this on your kitchen table. So you're gonna have some mad moms say, but mom, but it's educational. No. Don't have your mom or your girl or your dad or whoever mad at me. Just put down some old paper bags or a sheet or something like that. Pattern efficiency is actually how you save money. If any kind of efficiency with food, efficiency with water, I guess it's conservation or whatever you might want to say. Being efficient with something is how you save money. When companies are telling you that they are efficient or that they're sustainable or that they're conserving, yes, they are, but it also is really dumb if they're inefficient because it wastes money.
All right, so I think this stitch right here, you can just look up at the camera when you're like a little...
Bro. Yo, well, with that, we're gonna go ahead and stop. I'm gonna continue. Y'all don't gotta be here. Hit a little TV magic. I wish it was TV magic because I actually gotta do the work. But on the next episode, you guys will actually see this thing all cut up, and we'll go into more of the details of the shoe, why the parts are there, look at the whole shoe laid down. I'll build you guys what's called a part map, and hopefully I will have all my fingers and also my stomach around that time. I'm gonna see y'all. Oh my gosh.